Welcome back to Real Estate Investing for Life. I'm Jonna Weber, and I'm here to help you have a life outside of real estate. I know that you can create real wealth without all the hassles of getting a second job while you're doing it. Let's get started. This is going to be fun today. I'm going to unpack a little bit about the details of my real estate journey, but along the way, I'm going to share key principles that I learned through it and takeaways that are going to help you in your passage through this real estate journey. Let's get started. You know, when I think back to when the real estate journey really started, I was 23 years old. I wasn't thinking about the whole, advantages of investing in real estate at that age. But you know what? My husband was. We were newly engaged, and he mentioned the idea that he would like us to buy a home. And we knew we were going to live together until we got married. Did you hear that, Mom? And so we decided to go ahead and go forward with a purchase, and I would move into it, set up house, so to speak, start to get all those gifts from the registry as they come in, and be all ready to go to start our married life together. So we went house hunting, found this little house, came upon, it was $93,000 for 1.5 acres with a little cute original farmhouse in Meridian, Idaho. We grabbed that, we moved forward with it, and I'll just tell you how far things have come. I remember going through that and getting the loan for that, and the loan officer would not talk to me. He would only talk through my husband. In fact, he was very condescending at the time, and I look back at that and I'm just kind of startled by how much things have changed in just a few decades. But we got through it. A little bit of tears along the way, but we got closed on that house, and that was our first purchase. And then we lived there for a couple of years and started to get a little itchy, like we were outgrowing it. The bedroom count was 2, and we had 1 bathroom, and we knew we wanted to start a family soon. So my husband had gotten a bonus at work, and we decided to plan a move-up move. And we sold that property and was able to take that along with the bonus, take that equity, and move it into a definite move-up property. And that was 5 acres in Middleton, Idaho, that we built a little custom house on. It was really quite beautiful. Remember that, because that's going to come further along in the story, the role that that house played. Lived in that house, and while we were living there, there was something about my husband wanting to look at development parcels, look at real estate. We had this sick habit where we go look at open houses all day long. On the weekends, we were very busy with our careers working. I was an event and meeting planner at that time. My husband was an engineer. So our days were full, but that was our off time, as we'd go look at the parade of homes and all the open houses and development parcels. So we went along like that for a few years. And then 2003, my mother-in-law decided to sell her little townhouse property. And my husband came up with the idea, let's make this our first rental. Let's offer to buy it from her. Save on a little real estate commissions. We could buy it direct, all that good stuff. I tell you what, I went kicking and screaming to the title company to sign on that, because I did not want to be a real estate investor, because that was too risky. And it's so funny looking back at that. But that was our start. And then the move, a corporate move, brought us across the country to North Carolina, where we kept our house that we had built on 5 acres. We kept it as a rental, and we moved across the country and bought a house in North Carolina, and ultimately bought a rental out there as well. But we were just kind of accidental, mumbling along. We really didn't have much concept of cash flow or returns, but we were young. We figured real estate is a long game. Time heals all wounds. Not a big deal if we're losing money on certain properties. Let's go ahead and just make these investments. Lived there 2 years. It was so pretty in Cary, North Carolina. If you're out there, if you've been there, let me know. And then we got the opportunity to move back to Idaho. So we did that. And when we moved back, we decided we're not going to move into this big, house that we had built on 5 acres. It's too far out there. It was out in the country. And I wanted to be in the city because my husband traveled all the time for work, and I wanted to be close to schools and kids' activities as they were getting into sports, all that good stuff. So we bought a little house in the middle of Boise and settled down there. Our intent was to live there for 1 year, and that turned into 9 years. And the backstory behind that is we moved in after 1 year, and then the Great Recession hit, and it hit hard. And we had many years that we were very upside down on that property. So we stayed where we were. We were one income because at that time We had not one, but two negative cash flow rentals because we really didn't know what we were doing. And we were trying to be nice landlords too. So we lived in that for a long time. And there's pivotal moments in your life. And my pivotal moment, one of many, but one related to real estate, really came at that height of the recession. And I think we were in 2010 at the time. And my husband was one income. He worked for a great corporation and all was going along, but it got scarier and scarier to the point where there was going to be a real possibility that there would be no more jobs left in the tech field at the time. And, it almost happened. And so that was my aha, because at the time I was a stay-at-home mom. I had two little kids. I was just starting to think about substitute teaching. I was starting to do a little of that, making $75 a day when I did that. And we realized that we really didn't have a backup plan. We had our rental that we had moved out of, the one that was the 5-acre parcel that was losing over $800 a month on a good month. And that was when it was filled with no vacancies, no repairs. Okay. So it was bleeding us dry when we were living on one income. And I just got an inkling that we had to do something different. I wound up looking online, looking at different forums, different options, how to get started in real estate investing. What do we do? And it clicked that we had this one rental that was $800 in the negative. And I thought, well, what if we could sell this, turn it into positive cash flowing properties? So we did that. We ultimately decided to sell that at the low of the market. It was very painful. But we took that little bit of equity and we put it into two positive cash flowing properties. And so that was the little click, the difference maker, where I realized, man, if we could buy two properties, we could probably buy more and it would make a difference. And so I was bumbling along on my own and ran across a community forum called Bigger Pockets. And you may have heard of Bigger Pockets. At the time, it was like the Facebook for real estate investors. And I started looking and lurking on the forums and finding out what other people were doing. And I found out other people were actively investing in real estate. And beyond that, I realized that people in my own family had been passively investing in real estate. Even though that wasn't their day job, it wasn't what they did. But I found out that that was a real source of a lot of the wealth in their life was through real estate assets. So it clicked. There was an aha there. And I saw that Bigger Pockets was going to do a summit in 2012 in Denver, Colorado. And I thought, I need to be there. And I didn't have a business. I had these couple of rentals. We didn't have a business name. We hadn't settled on, the LLCs and all of that sort of thing. But I felt like we needed to be there. At least one of us did. I had the flexibility. So my husband stayed with the kids and I flew down to Denver, Colorado, and realized that there were other people just like me that were not only investigating real estate investing, but they were doing it and they were making progress and they were building wealth for their families. So I came back to Boise, Idaho, fired up. I knew that that was going to be a solution for our family long-term in building wealth. I started really digging into foreclosures and short sales and the basics of rental property investing. And that's what we moved into, purchasing rental properties, single family at the time. And it did well for us at a time when price points were very, very low. And that's another lesson. There's always cycles in the market and there's always a strategy that's going to work best. And at the time, single family rental properties, it was almost like they were giving them away. It was a really, really special time to be purchasing real estate. And so we were purchasing those. And then something happened where I was starting to teach more. I got my teaching certificate. I was teaching basically 20 hours a week. And I realized that the days that I was at school, sometimes I would miss out on purchasing rental properties. And I unfortunately was not making very much as a teacher. So I thought, what if I got my real estate license and really worked on doing 2, 3, 4 deals a year instead of teaching and hopefully earning the same amount of money, but with much less time in an area that I was really excited about. So I got my real estate license. And some of us are just the type of people that has to run with it. And before I knew it, I was doing very, very large amounts of business in real estate sales. That's a whole nother story. But we bought these rental properties and we learned the hard way how to manage them, how to screen effectively, how to take care of the repairs, how to avoid fair housing, discrimination, call outs, all the things that we needed to learn as private landlords ourselves. And I wouldn't trade those days for anything. I'm not saying you need to go through that. In fact, I suggest you don't go through that. But man, I learned a lot. Over the years, we divested from single family real estate investing to commercial buildings and small multifamily as well. And so it's been really great going through the process and learning all of the different facets about real estate investing. And then also in passive investing in syndications and funds, which we have enjoyed investing in as well. And there's such a great place for all of it, but it all depends on what an individual's goals are, their time commitment is, and it's so individualized. I love that there are so many different opportunities in real estate. And so what I love to do is get with folks and let's zero in on what your goals are, and then let's work backwards to pick that strategy that's going to work right for you. Okay, so this was just our journey. And as I look back at our real estate whole portfolio and what we've learned along the way, there's a couple of common themes that I want to call out that hopefully will be applicable to you. And the first one is that you can definitely accomplish more in a decade than you ever imagined. And you're probably not going to accomplish as much in a year as you would imagine. And many of you have heard that before, but it is so true, because when I look back in our years from 2011 to 2021, for example, the exponential growth and appreciation that our assets created during that time was exponential. And it was all because we were consistent over that entire period of time. And it started back in the beginning with that small burst of momentum. So you create a small burst of momentum, and then you consistently nurture that momentum and let it play out, okay? So in 2011, we had a very small burst of momentum, and I'll even call it 90 days. It's amazing what you can accomplish in 90 days of focus to figure out what kind of investments were right for us and taking action and securing those investments. And then again, consistently letting those play out and nurture over the course of a decade is extremely meaningful. So number one is you can accomplish way more in a decade than you think is possible when it comes to wealth building. The second one is it just really takes small bursts of focus and momentum, and then the ball keeps rolling. I'll call it down the hill, right? So I don't know if that's the right analogy, but it really sets the course for that entire next decade. So those small times are so important to focus in and figure out your right strategy and know that you're aiming for the right goal. The third thing that I really learned throughout this process is you don't have to go it alone. And everyone can benefit from an outside person or a group of people really unpacking what your goals are and what the best strategy is to get from here to there. There were a couple of things that played into my life, and I wish I would have had the kind of environment that I now have in my life. But at the beginning, when I came back from that real estate investing conference at Bigger Pockets, I was so excited. I started a real estate investing meetup. We had 5 people there. And what that did, though, they were local people, and they created belief in me that they really could create wealth, and therefore I could too. And there was one gentleman that came to my very first meetup and became one of my very first clients that was creating a business that was very much setting himself up for passive income for the foreseeable future. And that was so cool to see that modeled. And then I knew it to be true for myself as well. The other piece of it that was really instrumental is I joined with a small group of other women, actually, a female mastermind group, and we walked through together and normalized the idea of creating multiple streams of income beyond the one income stream that my husband and I had. It was really quite powerful. So I really encourage you, whether it's working one-on-one with someone like myself, or if you're in a local community and want to grow into a real estate investing association or some kind of mastermind, I think there's a great place for all of that. Just be sure that the people that you're aligned with and learning from have actually been out there and done deals and can help you get from here to there, but you got to know where you want to go. So as we round the corner on this real estate journey that we've created for ourselves, it's now been, well, it's been 30 years since we made that first home purchase, but it's been 23, I would say, since we really got serious about getting that first rental property. And it's only been about 15 since I seriously caught the fever myself and really started learning about everything about real estate investing that I could. And it's a pleasure to work with families and couples and individuals today that want to take that first step. It's not as hard as people think. It's really a matter of just developing that strategy you're going to go forward with, what's going to match your goals, and doing it in the most time efficient possible time frame with that small burst of momentum. And that, my friends, is my high level overview of my real estate investing story, from single family to multifamily to commercial to a little bit of passive syndications and funds. It's all been memorable, and I'm so glad that I've had a taste of it all. And so one of my favorite things to do is to talk to you about your personal goals, your journey, and then we can really narrow in on what's right for you and identify the right opportunities. I can't wait to do that with you. If you're feeling called to have that conversation, please reach out at jonnaweber.com. I set up 30-minute strategy calls that are designed for just that. Have an amazing day, go to grow, and we'll catch you on the next episode.